Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
This is the Bible for Busy People podcast. I'm Jen, and a friend sent me a short video the other day. In it, author and church leader Pete Greig starts in a startling way. He says Jesus was so bad at starting a religion. He talks about how he didn't accomplish anything by our standards today. Greig says he just made friends with 12 people. Jesus found time, even though he was the Messiah, to go fishing, to go on picnics, and go to parties, which means that he was officially less busy than almost every Christian leader you've ever met, and more fun. I've also heard it pointed out in a sermon that Jesus rejected fame and recognition. The times when crowds wanted to make him king, he simply went off on his own. Instead of bringing more acclaim to himself, he took solitary time with God, dismissed the crowds, and specifically warned people not to tell everyone about his miracles, which they did anyway. The book Gentle and Lowly by Dale Ortland, he has a shortened version too called The Heart of Jesus, had such an impact on me. Where we can sometimes view God and Jesus as demanding or shaming or intimidating, the book points back to the heart of Christ and how Jesus, as an embodied representation of God, identified himself, specifically in Matthew 11. In verse 25, it says, "At that time, Jesus said, 'I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this is what you were pleased to do. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." We have read this passage a number of times on this podcast. Jesus calls himself gentle and humble in heart. He is approachable, relatable, joyfully meets us even in our mess, and takes the burden on himself so we can find rest. All of us, yes, even you and me. It's interesting that at the beginning of this passage, Jesus thanks God for revealing knowledge to little children. It reminds me of the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, verses 3 to 10. "Blessed are the poor in spirit, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the pure in heart, the peacemakers. They are happy because they experience spiritual realities that not everyone does." All of this comes from humility. This ties into our focus for today. The kingdom of heaven has humble beginnings. In Matthew 13, verse 31, it says, "He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches." He told them still another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into about 60 pounds of flour until it worked all through the dough." Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. So was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet, "I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the creation of the world." Remember that Jesus used a lot of visuals that people of the time in an agrarian or agricultural society would have understood. Everyday, ordinary people who planted seeds and baked bread. We talked about this in our plant series a few weeks ago. The imagery here would have been relatable for the people listening. Also, worth pointing out is that it would have mainly been the job of the woman in the household to bake the bread. Jesus specifically gave an analogy that specifically applied to them. Women are invited to take part in the theological conversation and are included and invited into the kingdom. Women are certainly part of the promise and purpose of God. The Ligonier blog mentions that the Palestinian mustard plants could grow to a height of 10 feet, which is huge, right? Any seed we plant will seem humble, and it will take faith to put in the work to help that seed to grow, though we ourselves don't do the growing. And then such a plant grows and gives life to many as it grows, shade and safety to all kinds of animals, as is mentioned in the passage, not to mention oxygen and sometimes even nourishment. Similarly, it only takes a pinch of leaven to work its way through the dough and cause the dough to rise. Leaven wasn't always associated as a good thing in the scriptures, but in this analogy, it's a positive one. The Out Upon the Waters blog notes, yeast not only grows, it changes the whole environment around it. It causes a chemical reaction. These things seem so simple that they could easily be overlooked, and that's the point. The kingdom of heaven didn't, and doesn't, and won't come in a way that people expect it to. Jesus certainly didn't. Jesus was born to a poor couple and placed in a manger. He was raised in such a way to earn a living, like all of us. His ministry wasn't glorious. He entered Jerusalem on a donkey. He died what was known as a shameful death, treated as a criminal even though he was innocent. He was not the king people expected. And that's the thing. God's power looks differently than the world's. Jesus' impact went far beyond the limits of this world. We talked about the parable of the sower recently, but there's another parable involving seeds that we're going to take a look at. It's in Mark 4, verse 26. It says, "He also said, 'This is what the kingdom of God is like. A man scatters seed on the ground. Night and day, whether he sleeps or gets up, the seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how. All by itself, the soil produces grain. First the stalk, then the head, then the full kernel in the head. As soon as the grain is ripe, he puts the sickle to it because the harvest has come.'" Again, the seed sprouts and grows. We don't make that happen. It's not up to us to grow the plant. God is doing the work to bring new growth in the kingdom, all from a humble seed. Zechariah 4:10 asks, "Who dares despise the day of small beginnings?" Forgive me for quoting out of context. There is far more there than I can go into at this point. But my question for you is, how do you feel about small beginnings? Sometimes I feel like, God, why isn't this moving faster? Why don't you show up more? I want God to do things my way on my schedule. But that's not how God operates, thankfully. God works in unexpected and, yes, mysterious ways. I'll leave you with that, and we will talk again tomorrow. If you are listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume two things about you. First of all, that you're a busy person. And second, that you are in need of a restful break. Cannon Beach Conference Center is the place for a beautiful coastal retreat. Whether it's one of their enriching conferences or your own church or ministry event, you can find out more at 800-745-1546 or visit cbcc.net. Thank you to Cannon Beach Conference Center for sponsoring the Bible for Busy People.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.